I am good on my end, yep.
All right, that being said, we will call the September 23rd, 2024 session of the Zoning Board of Review of Richmond to order. First or second matter on our agenda is the approval of minutes from June 24th, 2024. Any issues? No, none here. Is there a motion?
To make a motion, approve minutes.
Is there a second? Second by Sean. All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. That brings us to new business. Number one, special use permit and dimensional variance for Jennifer Pasqualini and John Truesdale, 205 Kenyon Hill Trail, Richmond, Rhode Island. This would allow the owners to have accessory for a dog boarding and breeding kennel with 5 or fewer dogs. Who do we have here?
John. Jim.
How are you folks?
Well, and you?
All right, you represented this evening?
I do.
Go ahead, Council. What's your name?
My name is Mark Tichenor. I'm with the firm of McGonigal Hens PC.
Great, welcome.
So as you had mentioned, this petition is regarding the property located at 205 Kenyon Hill Trail. The applicant is desiring to use their 3-acre property to run a dog daycare and boarding facility of 5 or fewer dogs as an accessory use to their single family residence. As the subject property is located in R3 zone, a special use permit is required in accordance with ordinance 18-1630. In our application, we have requested a dimensional variance related to the setback provisions of 18-2060, which I had incorrectly cited as 18-1630E, which 18-2060 relates to a facility as a primary use. As previously stated, the applicants intend only to care for 5 or fewer dogs as an accessory use to their single family residence. For that reason, we are withdrawing our request for a dimensional variance and requesting only approval of the special use permit in accordance with 18-1630. It is our intention to provide testimony by the applicants establishing that the presence of this use will be of benefit to the town and that the applicants have prepared efforts to mitigate any presumed negative effects of their business. As will be heard in the applicant's testimony, the special use permit requested permitting the dog boarding facility, which has been recognized as a beneficial use of the town, would not substantially or permanently affect the appropriate use of the surrounding properties, pose risk to the public health, safety, and welfare, and is consistent with the character of the surrounding uses. As you have seen in your packets, we have provided letters from the surrounding neighbors in support, obviously.
Great, so we're not pursuing dimensional variance, we are pursuing special use.
Only special use. I would leave you here a thoughtful and well thought plan by Ms. Pasqualini. And if you are willing, I would like for her to come up for some testimony.
Please. We just have to swear you in, Ms. Pasqualini. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth here this evening.
I do.
Great. Go ahead.
For the record, please state your name and address.
Jennifer Pasqualini, 205 Kenyon Hill Trail in Richmond, Rhode Island.
You and your husband live at 205 Kenyon Hill Trail.
Correct.
And have you lived at that address since 2016, or since 2017?
Yes.
Through allowing this use in your zone subject to a special use permit, the town has recognized that this presence of a dog boarding facility can be a benefit to the area, so long as the negative effects of the use do not overcome the presumed benefits. To the best of your knowledge, can you speak to your need, to the need of the proposed services in the town of Richmond?
So if you were to do a quick Google search, you'd notice that there are very few dog daycare facilities in Richmond, which is what I would primarily be using my business for. I have a number of clients that I see that I go to their house for drop-in visits that would love to have their dog come to my home to do enrichment activities and go do daycare with me, that they're socialized in a nice, safe environment. I know that I'm only allowed 5 dogs, and I think that that's a great number. I think that's a wonderful size for a play group without things getting too rambunctious or excessive.
All right. Have you spoken to your neighbors regarding this?
I have. I've spoken to all of my immediate neighbors and some that are a little farther. They only had the one concern of excessive barking and noise, which of course is something I would never tolerate. It's not healthy for the dogs. It's not something I like. I like the rural, quiet area we live in. You know, of course there may be a little bit of noise, but you know, it's hopefully will be minimized. And I know that my neighbors I have an open line of communication with them so that if there was an issue, they feel very free to call me, text me, come over and let me know what was going on so that I could address it.
Can you explain your anticipated client intake process?
I plan to have an application process. I want to ensure that all the dogs are up to date on their vaccines, and I'll use a spreadsheet to keep track of that. I also plan to test the dogs for their friendliness with both people and other dogs. I want to make sure that it's a play group that gets along well. There isn't any sort of danger posed to any of my neighbors, myself, my family, anything like that. I want to have nice, well-behaved clients.
Would it be a vaccination requirement?
Yes, definitely vaccination requirements with the spreadsheet to keep track of that.
Can you explain to the zoning board your plans, your day-to-day plans to run the business?
So it's going to be a structured day. They would do lots of walking, training, enrichment activities, playing, nap time. You know, it won't just be a free-for-all of dogs running around barking all day. It's going to be very well thought out to the dogs that are there and things that would work best for them. There'll be lots of puzzles and toys and things like that. There also will be lots of cleaning and sanitizing done for the safety of the dogs and myself. And if there are dogs staying overnight, let's say they were boarding, they would be inside after the daycare has ended.
Do you expect that the presence of the outdoor recreation area will result in an excessive amount?
It's my goal that it doesn't. You know, of course, dogs make some noise, but I would hope that and ensure that it would be kept to a minimum and not for hours and hours on end.
And on your property, is there a substantial vegetative buffer?
Luckily, there's woods on almost every side, especially between us and our neighbors. So that would really help. That will really help with any noise.
How do you intend to avoid the presence of odors related to dog waste?
So when a dog makes a deposit, it will be cleaned up immediately. It's stored in a tight-fitting trash can. The receptacle is taken to the transfer station weekly. I also plan to use a sanitizing product made of enzymes that cleans the yard, and that will also be taken care of weekly.
And when you say a tight can.
It's a trash can with a very tight lid, so nothing can get in.
No seepage.
No seepage.
And then lastly, what impact do you anticipate the business to have on incoming and outgoing traffic?
I think at any given time, there will be no more than 2 or 3 cars coming or going. I have a large driveway with plenty of off-street parking. So I don't really anticipate there being any major changes to the traffic that happens on our road.
And what are your expected times for pickup and drop?
So drop off would be between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. and pickup would be between 4 p.m. and 6:30 p.m.
I will now turn to the board if there's any questions for either.
Any questions? Do you own dogs yourself?
I do.
How many?
2. With no plans to get any more dogs.
One of the questions in looking at this and from prior experiences, no reflection of yours, is how do we know which dogs are the ones that are being boarded versus which ones are yours? Like, again, not a reflection of you in the least. We met 5 minutes ago.
Sure.
But we wouldn't want to see any proverbial game being played where, oh, these are the 5 being boarded, those 2 are mine, that's grandma's, that's auntie's.
Sure.
You know, there's 10 dogs.
Absolutely.
Again, not you,
Yeah.
but how do we address that to make sure that there's not too many dogs on the property?
My dogs are licensed to the town.
Okay.
And they can wear those licenses so that if somebody wanted to come and check, they would be the ones with the Richmond license. Oh, that's true. Their name tags have our address on it.
If you're boarding dogs, you mentioned at night they would be inside. What hours?
So after daycare had ended, so let's say 6:30, you know, maybe with a short potty break, you know, after dark, and then they would be inside the home again until 7 a.m. Same thing in the morning, short potty break, but then they wouldn't be outside running around making noise after the daycare hours had ended.
Do your dogs participate in the playtime and all the dogs?
They do. They're well trained, and especially my younger dog, is a very like well-trained and balanced dog, and I like to have her around to see the behavior and attitudes of other dogs that I bring in. You know, if she doesn't like them, I know why, you know. She plays very nicely. She knows when to ignore dogs. So I do somewhat rely on her, especially in the vetting process.
Gotcha. Chris, I'm putting you on the spot here. Does the ordinance speak to how many dogs can be on the property, or does it just speak to how many, the 5 or fewer for the commercial venture?
Josh is gonna help me out, but I believe it's 5 for the commercial venture. It
Yeah,
doesn't address personal use, Josh.
I don't think so, yeah, I think it was 5.
And my only concern, again, is not you, and it's, the special use permit will run over the property, correct, Chris?
It would.
So say you sell your property,
Mhm.
whatever that might be, you can get somebody in there with 10 pets and then it's a problem. So, and I'm thinking out loud here, it might simply be a condition that, assuming the board wants to grant this, I might say you can have your 2 dogs as pets plus the 5. And I think you mentioned there's no plans to add additional dogs. And if there were, then you could always come back to, I just don't want, and I think the neighbors might appreciate 101 Dalmatians going on.
Absolutely.
over there. And
Absolutely.
Again, met you 5 minutes ago, so it's not a personal thing,
I understand.
I just don't want craziness going on, that's my own.
Mhm.
my
So,
own-
Mr. Chairman, you're saying the condition would be the limit that they're asking for of 5 commercial animals.
5 commercial animals with a condition that there are 2, assuming they own 2 animals. 2 additional personally owned animals. Can I do that as a condition as? You tell me, Chris, if
I would say
left
the
field.
ordinance speaks to 5 commercial. It doesn't address personal. So I would, could you do it? Yeah.
I think you're only allowed
Could you
3
do
with the town anyways. I think you're only allowed 3. Like
3
personal, personal,
At a house this weekend that are quite a few.
yeah,
It doesn't mean anything.
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
not-
they're probably not registered.
Right. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. The board might think I'm out of my field. That being said, with the applicant still testifying, do we have any other questions? Go for it.
At one point you said, 2 to 3 cars at once for drop off and pick up. Do you have adequate parking in your driveway or is it on street or off street?
It's all off-street parking and I can easily park 10 or more cars on my yard.
While I have you, Ms. Pespley, and you might want to speak to counsel, and you can do it in private if you want. Do you personally, if we're to condition the granting of your special use permit on 5 commercial animals plus your 2,
Mhm.
is that something you would agree to this evening? Or is that something that you're opposed to? And again, if you want to speak to counsel, by all means.
I'd like to speak to council.
Sure.
So, if this is what it takes for me to get this permit, I will absolutely agree to it.
Okay.
I hate to be limited in case there's foster situation or my older dog's getting older and I'm ready to bring in a new puppy, something like that. That would be my only, reason that I would not want that limitation. But if that's what it takes to get this permit done, then I'm willing to go along with that.
Okay.
I think that's
Appreciate it, and we'll take that when we close testimony, close the public hearing, we'll take that up in discussion. Any other questions?
Just out of curiosity, what kind of dogs?
I have Labradors.
Okay.
The sweetest, nicest dogs you've ever met.
You haven't met mine.
Online.
If you
Well,
you picked a favorable board to bring a dog.
we almost brought them in the car to like kind of.
Grease the wheels.
I would have melted. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't think it was fair,
There's still time.
Yeah. But in fact, a lot of my clients that are interested are also retrievers, labs, dogs like that.
Any other questions? Chris, do me a favor, I forgot my cheat sheet here. Walk me through the criteria just so I have it. Okay, perfect.
Got it?
Just want to make sure I'm not missing. I'm all set. I don't have any other questions. Everybody good? All right, any other witnesses or testimony or evidence? Okay. Any members of the public wish to comment? Hearing none.
Anybody online?
I have someone, but I don't have a hand raised.
To the folks online, if you wish to make a comment, if you could use the raise your hand feature.
Nothing, I think we're good.
All right, we will, is there a motion to close the public hearing? Motion, is there a second? In a second, all in favor? Aye. Either way, let's, that we can start discussion on it. You can grab a seat.
Let's just speak up.
Oh, it counts as three, so I'm,
Is it three? Have we confirmed that?
Well, just a regular homeschool, yeah.
yeah, that's
regular
three.
Mr. Chairman, the suggestion would be just, I don't think you need to do it, but you could say that no more than those allowed by ordinance in the town or single-family dwelling. I mean, it's not needed, but because it's already an ordinance.
Yeah. Gentlemen? Any other thoughts?
Haven't had one all day.
Nice.
I think it's nice that all the neighbors sign, they've spoken to, I think that would be my only concern. Yeah,
I'm at two, you're at three.
I'm at three.
Three? Great. All right, I'm outvoted. Straw poll here. I'm happy to take a stab at it unless you want to. I can steal those conditions from you. All right, close the public hearing, discussion ensued. That being said, I will make a motion to approve the application for a special use permit. This is an amended application. The relief for dimensional variance was withdrawn by the applicant. With respect to the conditions of the the criteria for a special use permit. One, the proposed use will not substantially or permanently harm the appropriate use of surrounding property. We heard testimony from the applicant this evening, Ms. Jennifer Pasqualini. The subject property is 205 Canyon Hill Trail in Richmond. That is in an R3 zone. She's lived there for approximately 7 years. It's a 3-acre property. She described that it's surrounded by woods. Again, it's residential in nature. It's somewhat, it's in a neighborhood area, but again, the woods would deaden any sound issues there, alleviating any concerns about potentially harming the appropriate use of surrounding properties. We also have in the record a number of letters of support from her neighbors. Two, neither the proposed use nor location on site will result in conditions that will harm the public health, safety, and welfare. Again, this is on an appropriately sized lot, at least according to the town council that passed this ordinance. The applicant spoke to a number of features that she is implementing, addressing public health, safety, and welfare, including vaccination requirements for these animals, cleaning, sanitizing the facilities, as to dog waste, immediately cleaning that waste, making weekly deposits, excuse the pun, at the transfer center, and sanitizing products. On that basis, it doesn't seem to be any concerns for health, safety, and welfare in the record. And I will note the applicant also addressed her personal concern about dogs barking and wanted to limit that. She said she would not tolerate that. She also intends to bring these in at night if they're boarded there, so that they're, at least in my opinion, my thought, read between lines, not barking all night. They would only go out for short potty breaks in the evening. That would only be the dogs that were staying in the evening. It seemed as though from the testimony that a number of these animals would simply go for stay for the day, not exclusively animals that are staying overnight. The proposed use would be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of this title. Concord did a good job of laying out our ordinance is fine that if appropriately managed, this is an appropriate use. My opinion and my motion that this is in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the title. Further on, the proposed environmental effects of the proposed use on the surrounding property and on the town. Again, for the reasons I stated with respect to health, safety, and welfare, which include vaccination requirements, cleaning, sanitizing, disposing of waste, as well as limiting the times that these animals are outside, especially in evening hours. I do not have concerns with respect to environmental effects or effects on surrounding property. With respect to the potential impact of the proposed use on traffic circulation and safety, this seems to be very minimal impact. Again, this commercial use is 5 dogs at a time. At most, be 5 cars dropping animals off and picking them up. The applicant indicated she thought it might be at most 2 to 3 cars at a time. Found that to be credible. She described living on a large driveway with adequate parking, and pickup and drop-off hours are also limited. On that basis, it seems as though there's very limited impact on traffic. And lastly, whether the proposed use will generate noise, odor, or other effects that cannot be mitigated by the imposition of conditions or safeguards. Things that jump out are the dog waste as well as barking, and addressed that already. That noise is being addressed with keeping these animals in, as well as the owner's personal view that excessive barking is not tolerated. As far as odor and other effects, the cleanliness requirements that the applicant herself is inputting, with respect to sanitizing, disposing of waste, and the like. On that basis, it would seem that any issues of noise, odor, or other effects are being appropriately mitigated by the applicant. The board, in our discussion, took a bit of a straw poll as to whether or not an additional requirement or a condition of approval of a special use permit would be imposed. The only condition that I would propose based on that is that the applicant's personal ownership of pets adhere to the town requirement as to how many animals that they can own at a given time. That would be in addition to the relief granted by the special use permit, would be 5 or fewer dogs at a given time. That is my motion. Did I miss anything, Chris?
No, you did not.
There we go. We're making progress. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Should have brought the dogs.
I know.
Sorry. I didn't think it'd be fair.
I know.
All right, that brings
We got
us.
one more agenda.
Yeah, we got
One more agenda item. If I can find. Approval of the zoning board. Good evening, folks.
Thank you.
Thanks so much,
Have a
everyone.
nice evening.
Welcome. On the zoning board of review meeting schedule. I didn't have any issues with it. Anybody have any issues?
No, I looked them up, I don't see any conflict anyway.
All right. Is there a motion to approve them?
Should we make a motion?
Second.
Motion second, Sean beat you to it. All in favor? Aye.
Wait, Jim first, who was second,
Sean had a second.
Sean second.
Wait, she.
All right, and then
Yes,
what's
I do.
the whole vote, everybody agreed?
Yes.
Awesome, sorry, you guys were all.
It does conflict with me getting my hair done on a couple of occasions, but you know, I'll work around that.
Yeah.
What's your place?
Um,
Seven.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right.